In 2004, Chang opened his first restaurant in New York City, a basic noodle bar. 4 years later, he opened the exclusive Co. with just 12 seats that saw New Yorkers clamoring for reservations and garnered Chang his prestigious Michelin stars.
You didn't set out to be a chef, and in fact, as I understand it, your dad actually pointed you in the direction of golfing.
Yes.
He didn't want you to be a chef. So.
No, it's such a hard life, and he wanted something very different from me.
What gave you the guts to do any of it?
I think it wasn't necessarily guts. I think it was a healthy dose of naivete and just knowing enough of how to do something and being young enough to be selfish and realize that if everything failed, I would still be 27 years old and my whole life ahead of me.
By 2011, his empire was exploding, with more New York locations, a restaurant in Australia, a cookbook, a food journal, a TV program on PBS, and 3 different food concept restaurants set to open in Toronto, all under one roof.
Not bad.
The project was ambitious and got off to a rocky start.
Some were a little offended by a remark you made when you first landed here about the lack of great chefs in this city.
Toronto is not considered one of the top 5 food cities in the world. And you can sit and complain about it all you want, or we can try to get to a point where it's objectively true. And that's sort of what I meant.
Is this Toronto restaurant, Momofuku, living up to your expectations for it?
We've had some rough patches, but it's better than it's ever been. And I think that everybody's really proud of what we do.
Okay, so this is the menu for tonight.
They want to make it better, and they want to contribute to Toronto. And I've learned people really love this town, and rightfully so.
You opened that first shop with seed money from your dad, the very dad who said, "Whatever you do, don't become a chef."
Yeah, he did. And there was a couple of his friends, and once people saw how committed I was, I just think it was also a tough year for me in general, and it was like something I could work with my dad on to do something that was impossible. And that happened, and then and ever since then it was just sort of basically putting everything on the line all the time. And I think that when you have that, failing isn't an option. I think if I had investors, I wouldn't have been so relentless in trying to find a way to make it work. And it's I can look back on it with nostalgia fondly, but it was pretty awful time in my life. Yeah.
You've had critics from the very beginning, kind of tough critics. Was that ever hard? Did that make it more difficult to do what you were doing?
Every time we got reviewed or critics wrote a review of us, it was like, oh my God, they feel that way about us. And I think how we viewed ourselves, or how I viewed myself, is dramatically different than how our critics viewed us. And probably still to this day. So.
How do you view yourself?
A hot mess.
A pretty successful one.
We got a lot of great people, and that's the thing. I get way too much credit for stuff that's happened.
Lots of eggs.
And you got insecurity.
Chang's been given a lot of credit for his own success, but he's also been described as something of a tyrant, with a temper so bad it's often led to health issues. It's a character flaw he says he's working on.
You have a somewhat famous temper.
Yes.
Is it as strong as ever?
I think that as a younger chef, I was so in the moment and unaware and unprepared for any success, and I just didn't care what anyone thought. At times, do I want to, have a totalitarian state? Yes. I don't feel really proud of how I behaved, sort of a petulant child. I'm just trying to get to the toddler stage.
You once gave I think it could be described as a tirade, if I'm reading it correctly, to your staff. But the one point you made was that you need chefs who feel the integrity of what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't know, somewhere along the way in my life I started caring about it. Maybe that was when I started cooking. I was like, oh, I actually want to do a good job at this. And I just realized life's too short to be bad at something.
Yeah.
Might as well be great at it and try your best. Very good. We're gonna add our chicken wing mix, which I really fundamentally believe the difference between a really delicious meal and a meal that's not so great isn't the technique and maybe not even ingredients, it's just how much somebody cares about something. So if somebody along the way doesn't care about it, I think it's a reflection on the whole staff.
However it played in the kitchen, Chang's temper didn't hurt his stardom. He was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. And for his food, the kinds of awards and accolades most chefs only dream of. But that leave Chang slightly uncomfortable.
Do you have a view of the whole celebrity chef movement? I mean, it's changed a lot in the last decade or so.
It used to be really awful being a chef. I mean, it's so hard and it's a labor of love. In that regard, life is better for a lot of people. Like, you can, make a life that, isn't bleak and dark. Do I lament the attraction that in the circus that it's become? Absolutely. But I also think it was a matter of time before people started to pay attention to cooking. I mean, it's got everything you would ever want. A lot of drama and high stakes stuff. I just don't think cooking is really that cool, though. I mean, at the end of the day, it's blue collar labor, and it's getting white collar treatment, so it's a little weird.